Hello, and welcome to She Rises, the podcast where women in leadership take center stage. I'm Tiffany-O, your host and the founder of Virtual Partner, where we champion humanity in the workplace to build thriving organizations. With over 30 years of experience in change management and servant leadership, I'm here to bring you powerful stories, actionable insights, and inspiring conversations with trailblazing women who are breaking barriers and redefining success. Whether you're climbing the corporate ladder, leading your own venture, or looking for that next level of impact, this is your space to learn, to grow, and to rise. Let's dive in.
So, welcome. I am so excited to be here with you today. I was really pleased, Amy, when we met on LinkedIn. And I think there is beauty in women being able to connect and remove the relationship to the next level. I always look at social networking, like the difference, or I try to describe it as the difference between where you live and where you park your car. You take your car to the garage and you don't set up camp and stay there, right? You have to then leave that place and come home. And that's really how I believe, we begin to build power bases in relationships is when we can move from the place of introductions and meeting and greeting and then moving to a place where we can have deeper conversations. So I'm very excited for us to be able to have another chat beyond our first initial meet and greet coffee. So welcome. Please introduce our audience. Tell us a little bit about you, about Waterfront Graphic Design, and I'd love to just jump into your story. I believe it's really going to resonate with people who are making transitions in life, pivoting as we begin to think about the landscape of the world changing, technology changing, and also we have that like moment of truth where we have to stop and think about what am I going to do next? Right? This is what I have always done, but the world is changing. We're living in this VUCA world. So I'll take a breath and pass it to you. Amy, please tell us about yourself.
Well, I'd be happy to, and thanks for having me. Like you said, my name's Amy Pierquet. I own Waterfront Graphic Design, and I've been in business for almost 24 years. And it's really hard to believe that I'm inching up on, quarter of a century. Um, but I am also a black belt. I do martial arts. A lot of people find that interesting when they find that out about me, and I truly do believe that some of my resilience does stem from doing something difficult like martial arts, because there's a lot of like ego bashing that kind of happens when you're doing martial arts, because if you screw up it's kind of like, oh, I knew that, why did I screw that up, so there's a lot of stuff that you learn from doing outside activities that help you as an entrepreneur and just in life. So I like to share that with people. And I'm like, if you have the opportunity to ever do martial arts, it helps in a lot of different ways, mental, physical, resilience, and everything. So what I like to do with my business, though, that has evolved and changed over the course of 24 years, as you can imagine, with technology changing so rapidly. But I help people with their websites, digital marketing, SEO, just straight up graphic design, logo design. So I'm kind of a one-stop shop for all kind of marketing.
Wow. But your story is interesting because it wasn't always that way. So give us a little context. Like this is what you're doing today. And we're going to talk about future proofing in a minute, but take us back to, you said 24 years you've been doing this. Were you always doing this or did your business look different when you started?
I was always a graphic designer, but I started out as just a graphic designer. And for those that don't know the difference, graphic designers are typically people that do print design work. So anything that you see on paper, logo design, that's graphic design, right? Now, that has broadened in the last 24 years, but 24 years ago, it was pretty much print design work. And what I did was I designed magazines, so publications, large page count publications. And that industry did take a massive dive in 2010. In fact, I lost every one of my clients
Wow.
in a 3 months time frame.
Wow.
Because 2008, as we know, there was a recession, and it took about 2 years for that to hit the publication world. So every one of the publications that I was working for was getting thinner and thinner and thinner because there was less and less and less and less advertisers. And everyone decided all at once, okay, we're either going to stop the magazine or we're going to just go to a digital online version
Mm,
or put everything on our website. So I had a really important decision to make. Do I keep just being a graphic designer and go only after print projects? Or do I figure out how to do this digital thing called a website and advance myself? That was a really difficult decision because I didn't want to do it.
mm,
And I've come to realize that it was fear that held me back. The
mm,
fear, the unknown fear of having to learn something that was new and scary. And I was just like, I either have to do this or I'm not going to make the income that I want to make.
mm. It's interesting you talk about that time period. I remember I was making a transition at the similar time, Amy. 2007, I left my corporate job. I had been an entrepreneur before, and then decided when we relocated that I would like get a regular job. That lasted for a few years, and then I got that fire back in my belly and embraced the fear and stood a virtual partner. And it was at that time that the world was changing. It's true that the recession hit, but you may remember 2007 and 2008, digital media started to change and
Mhm.
social media took the world by storm. We were moving from some of those old social media platforms to the big three, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And, 20, 15 years later, there's no Twitter, it's X, right? And
Right.
and,
Yep.
and so the world changed, and so advertising changed. And we were just in between like print media, websites. We were trying to figure out dynamic websites versus flat pages, HTML pages that you had to code every object on the page, right? So
Right.
everything changed at that time. And I remember that scary part about a website and getting it up and going, and really only large companies had them and they weren't dynamic and interactive, so much
Mhm.
so back then. So talk to me a little bit about how, those trends affected you, how you jumped in and how you pivoted, even though you were afraid, because we're talking about leading through fear and change.
Right. Well, the fear really had me, it had a really strong hold on me. It took me months, and that may not seem like a long time, but when you're fearful of income, and months can be a long time. And I just, I kept saying, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And then finally I was like, I started looking into options. How am I going to learn this?
Mm,
Where am I going to learn this? And the more that I educated myself, the more that the fear started to go away.
mm,
Um, I started working with someone that could teach me. They helped me understand a lot of things. And then as things grew and progressed, I just kept researching. Finding things on the internet wasn't as prevalent as
easy.
it is now. It was, and yeah, not easy. It was not easy. It was really hard to find information. It's just, it wasn't as robust as it is now. I mean, that's really not even that long ago, right? But trying to find out information or learning things, online classes, not a thing at that time. So I had to figure out a lot of this by myself. And a lot of it I learned by reading books, the old-fashioned way, right? Because there was no online classes. So I was reading books, figuring out how to code, figuring out how to build a website. And it would just took a lot of patience and a lot of I'm going to succeed at this. And I
Amazing.
just kept telling myself, I'm going to do better at this. Now, the biggest thing that started to creep up was because it was new for me, there's that limiting belief thing. I'm no good. I'm no good. And that was something that I really had to struggle with for years. That didn't go away until I really fully understood what I was doing. That could have crippled me and held me back, but I was so determined to succeed. And I just kept telling myself, no, I'm going to succeed. And that little pity party that kept playing that little violin in my head, I didn't want it to win. And I knew it was there and I was aware of it. And I even named it.
You, what did you call it?
Silly Sally.
The voices in our heads sometimes can be louder and more real than reality. And it sounds like you found a coping mechanism to silence Sally, right?
Yeah.
Silly
I
Sally.
called her silly because she was being silly, because that
I,
was me being silly. But I named her, and then when she came up, I was like, "Okay, silly Sally, you need to stop."
yeah, it's like
Sometimes that helps.
it does. When we talk about imposter syndrome, and the fearsome four, imposter syndrome, low self-confidence, second guessing, and that negative self-talk. We call them the fearsome four because sometimes they're coming from a place of fear of the unknown, fear of loss, fear of not knowing about the future, and then what are people going to think of me, right? So being able to find a way to settle ourselves inside can help us to propel ourselves forward. Now, you said something I thought that was really powerful for those that are listening in, and that is just because you're afraid, don't sit and do nothing. Do something. And for you, it was being a lifelong learner, the journey of learning, embracing learning. I'm going to learn this. I'm going to get this. I'm going to do this. And the more you learn, the greater your confidence becomes. And some of us have to learn by doing. So the more we do, even if we fail, I always say fail forward, fail fast. Make sure you learn the lessons along the way and teach the rest of us who might encounter the same. So kudos to you. And I love that analogy with little silly Sally. You were able to calm her down. I think another takeaway too, Amy, that I was listening to, and this has to do with how long that can linger, right? How long you said, you continue to deal with it. So the first step is owning that there's another voice in your head and what they're saying is not true. And that's why you called it Silly Sally. Like, this isn't true. It's coming from a place of fear. And the second thing that I thought was interesting is recognizing what the fear is about. For you, it was, wait a minute, this is fear of loss of revenue, livelihood, this decision could make or break. And so being able to be a trailblazer beyond that is something to be proud of. Excellent. I love it. And here's some of the blessings of, weathering the storm of the unknown. You talked about you came through as a more resilient person. Now you're this successful, business leader. And I love the program that you've developed and what you're able to do now for the next generation. So I want to shift a little bit and I'd love to hear your thoughts about how the industry is changing again with AI and with tools like Canva, right? Where everyone is in this self-help mode. No longer is the internet the unknown and it's not a lot of information there, and you still have to go to the library and look at the encyclopedia. Like everything is at your fingertip. How will Waterfront Graphic blaze through the future with these elements changing the world?
Okay, well, first and foremost, I'm already blazing through it.
I love it.
So just because there's a tool out there like Canva doesn't mean that the business owner can use it or know how to design it.
Love it.
The amount of projects, in fact, just earlier today, I was helping another business owner who created some wonderful marketing materials, but he's not a designer. So
Mm,
the material itself was great. He was a nutritionist. The material needed some graphic design help, if you know what I mean. So, yes, he created the material, but now he's looking at it and he's going, it doesn't look very professional. I don't know why. So I just took an hour of my time and I spruced up some things because, I'm the expert in that. I spruced up a couple of things on his document. Now they look like they were done from the get-go from a professional. So am I scared of Canva being out there? Nope. It's just another opportunity for me to help someone who ends up getting stuck, and that's what I view that my job is to help entrepreneurs get unstuck and kind of get out of their way.
Mm,
And I even help business people with their mindset issues. Because
mm,
if I'm talking to a client and I hear a negative belief or their own silly Sally, I call them out on it. I'm like, you got a little limiting belief there.
okay.
And I point it out and I help other women get out of their own ways sometimes too. I'm not a coach, but I like to say that I can help guide someone through something they may not even be what's holding them back.
Mm,
So AI too, so we talked about the Canva aspect. AI is just a tool, right? And again, if you don't know how to use the tool or even how to market, if you don't understand how to market, you could use the tool, but you may not be using it or marketing your business correctly.
mhm.
So I think that all of these tools are just going to give me an opportunity to help other people hone their marketing message or their digital marketing just even easier.
Mm, I love it. I love it.
I'm not afraid of it at all. No. And it's a shift, but it's just I don't know, in my opinion, it's a small shift.
I love it. And you've already prepared yourself, in terms of your services and your offerings and how you're going to pivot those, understanding how people how some business owners are thinking about media as the industry changes. But there's something else that you're doing that I thought was fascinating and has to do with creating opportunities for the next generation, right? So you talked about helping women make those shifts, and that's one of the reasons why I was like, oh, we need to have a conversation about that. So can you talk to us a little bit about how you're supporting the next generation and what advice you might give the rest of us?
Well, because of my LinkedIn reach outs and how I've been asking people just to connect, let's take 30 minutes and do a little Zoom chat. And a lot of the people that are accepting my invitations are people that are, let's say, a few years into their entrepreneur or less into their entrepreneur journey. And they're connecting with people just because they want to get to know other business owners. They're new to this, they're trying to figure it out. And every single time that I meet with somebody, I am a firm believer that givers gain. And
Mm,
um, when I meet with people and I'm connecting with them, one of the last questions I ask them is, who can I introduce you to? What problem are you having in your business right now? And when they come back and they're like, you know what, I really would like to meet a bunch of lawyers, and here's the problem I'm having, then I introduce them.
mm,
I have a database of people that I love to introduce people to other people, and those connections have really become just amazing for every person that I introduce. I get emails, thank you so much for introducing me to that person. And it's giving advice. It's, oh, you have that problem with marketing? Hey, do you want to think about maybe try doing this the next time you do a LinkedIn post? Try doing this. Just giving that little piece of advice to help them. Not only is that giver's gain kind of thing, but one, they appreciate it, and two, they're more likely to think of you when they hear of someone else in need.
yeah, I believe that what you've just shared, we were talking earlier about the 5 power moves that women can make, right? Strengthening their voice, quantifying their value, building connections and community, taking the right risk, and summoning courage. What you just shared is an excellent tip for building the community, right? Being focused on giving value at every touch point, right? So taking that 30 minutes and not just trying to assess the potential for them to do business with you, but you really want to in some way provide some value while you're with them. And I think that's beautiful. If you think in terms of voice, value, community, risk, and courage, is there another piece of advice that you would share with people who have to lead through fear and uncertainty?
My first thought is community.
Mm,
Um, when you say all those words, community keeps coming to me as really important. As a solopreneur myself, I mean, I have an assistant, but she doesn't work with me.
mhm,
She's a virtual. So, I don't have anybody right here to bounce ideas off of. But one of the things that has been so helpful for me in all of my years in business is having a couple of, and I have more than a couple, but a group of other business owners that I can trust to say, hey, what do you think of this idea? What do you think of this marketing slogan? What do you think of this? What do you think of this? And if I did this, do you think I need to fix anything? Just having people that you can trust to give you feedback.
mm,
So that little community helps you grow. And sometimes that could be a group of people that you've met. It could be a networking group. It could be other just entrepreneurs that you know. But having that group is so incredibly important to, and I've had people, they come to me and they go, okay, I'm thinking about writing this book. Which cover do you like? And they're not asking me to design it for them. They've maybe designed it themselves, but they're running it past me and going, what do you think?
mm,
Or do you like this color or this color?
mm.
Right? Just having those people, that community that you can don't go it alone, right?
I like that. I love it. Thank you. I appreciate that. And then lastly, before we wrap up, we're talking about what you're doing for the next generation and a project that you had with some of your LinkedIn outreach, providing minimal value to them and a touch point and helping your daughter who looks up to you as a role model, a mentor, you're her rock star, and you're trying to help her develop that business acumen. Back in the day, we all learned from our parents, right? Boys, if their parents were carpenters, they did that. If your dad
Mhm.
was an engineer, you did that. If your dad was a doctor, you did that. If your mom was a teacher, you did that, right? Well, her mom's a rock star, right? Doing it, making the transition. She wants to be just like you. So tell us about the way you're helping to shape and groom her and get her ready to lead as she progresses.
Yeah. So my daughter right now is a senior in high school, and she decided that she really likes designing. She was in a yearbook class, and the class made every classmate design quite a few of the yearbook pages. And she kept coming back and she goes, the teacher really likes the pages I design. Look at them. And she showed them to me after school one day. And so I said, okay, well, here's two feedbacks from a professional designer. And I gave her some feedback. There was too much, like text and photos were too close together. Give it a little bit more breathing room, like these little few details that she wouldn't have known. And then she ended up getting an award for the pages that she designed. Now, I didn't give her a lot of feedback of tiny little things, right? So I don't feel that she got the award because of me. I think it's because of her design ability. And I was just like, do you like doing that? And she's like, well, yeah, but I don't know if I want to do it all the time. So this last summer, I gave her a couple of design projects. A couple of them I made up, and a couple I got from a client. And I said, why don't you do these projects? Here's the thing, go in Canva and you start designing them. One was a poster, one was a logo, and another one was a flyer, like a multi-page flyer for a business. And she actually did amazing. So by offering her those opportunities to see whether or not she liked it, she realized, wow, that was a lot of fun. And I feel like I've got a knack for this.
Mm,
So if your kid is interested in doing something, getting them involved in the community in which
mhm,
that profession is in really gives them an idea before you start throwing money down on college. And I'm going to let you know, because I didn't even tell you this when we met initially. I did it with my older daughter too. My
Mm.
older daughter wants to be a veterinarian. She is now a junior in college. But when she was 16, she's like, Mom, I want to be a vet. And I'm like, oh, yeah, well, vet school is 8 years and a lot of money. And I'm like, I've heard way too many, with all my business connections, I've heard of way too many people that said they started going to college to be a vet. They didn't like the blood and guts and they couldn't handle the euthanasia. Those are
Mm.
two things I heard over and over again. So I said, girl, if you want to be a vet, let's find out if you can handle those two things that force people to quit.
Mm.
So I got her involved at volunteering at a shelter. She started working there. They ended up hiring her. She started shadowing veterinarians before she was even 18 years old.
Wow.
And now she even works at a vet as a vet assistant while she's going to school.
Excellent.
So if your kid is interested, try to find a way to get them involved in that career before you start doing any money and find out, is this something that I want to do? Because doing that, either the volunteer work or any other kind of work in that career will help them understand that this is how this career path will go for me. And is it for me before you start wasting money on college, right? And wasting is the wrong word, but it's wasting if that's not for them, right? Like it's money that is not well spent. So I've done that for both of my girls, and both of them are like, yep, this is for me.
Wow.
Um,
Excellent. Thank you for sharing those words of wisdom. I think from what I've heard, Amy, those words of wisdom can apply for parents, but it also can apply for those of us who may be transitioning,
right?
stuck and stalled and not really sure what we want to do. I think the takeaway or the bridge that we might be able to build on that thought is, why not volunteer, perhaps in a professional organization, doing what you think you might be good at. Take a few moments to assess, oh, what fills my cup? What do I really like? And before you go apply for a job to do that or go to school to learn, that why not go volunteer, spend some time, trying it out, supporting, helping an organization. And you think you want to be in healthcare and you want to lead programs. Well, why not go volunteer? If you whatever the case is, but it's okay to test and learn before you overcommit. Like almost if you're going to build an MVP, a minimal viable product, before you reinvest or invest, like you said, in a 4 year or 2 year, whatever kind of training program you need. So that was great advice. I think we can all use that, both parents and those of us that may have to transition, or women that may be listening and they're stuck and stalled. Get unstuck, get unstalled by just testing and trying and learning something.
Yep.
Very good. I love something Sheryl Sandberg says, and that is, motivation comes from working on the things you care about. It
Mhm.
also comes from working with the people we care about. And so your connection to community was something I wanted to make sure we all double down on. Find out what we love, but also build and strengthen our community and our connections, so that we can find joy in doing what it is that we love. Everyone, my name is Tiffany-O, and you've been with me here today as we're talking about leading through fear. Some of the takeaways that I'll sum up for us is, we build resilience through our efforts to try, right? We can find value through tumultuous changing times. We can test, we can learn, and just because the world is changing, it doesn't mean that we can't change with it and also thrive, as Amy has been doing. Amy, what final words do you have for us? Is there a quote, a piece of advice, or a way that people can work with you in the future?
Well, I always like to tell people that, being in business for 25 years, I've seen a lot of other businesses come and go. And there's a lot of times where in the first year of business, people close down their business and they're like, I'm going to go take another job. I'm not making enough money, or I'm not as big as I want to be. And that fear is what's holding them back. And I've come to realize that when the fear is that strong, that means success is right on the other side of that. And I've heard it over and over again that when you have fear, success is right around the corner.
Mm.
And when it's that strong, your success is a lot closer than you think.
Mm.
So when you feel that fear, when you feel that fear, don't stop. Keep going, because what's meant for you is literally right around the corner. So don't give up.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Amy, for spending your afternoon with me and for sharing those words of wisdom, not just for me, but for those that are going to listen in the community. And thank you also for being such a great mentor and mom for the loved ones in your life. Everyone, have a great day. You've been with Tiffany-O and Amy Pierquet of Waterfront Graphic Design.
That's a wrap for today's episode of She Rises. I hope you found inspiration, insight, and the motivation to keep pushing forward on your leadership journey. Remember, success isn't about reaching the top. It's about lifting others as you rise. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with other powerhouse women in your life. Follow me, Tiffany-O, and Virtual Partner for more resources on leadership, organizational growth, and creating workplaces where humanity thrives. Until next time, keep rising, keep leading, and keep making an impact.